Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's another one of those weird days where I'm doing two jobs. I'm making this video and I'm also writing over on 67hailhail.com. David is still on holiday. To be honest everyone, not even sure if he's ever coming back, but that's kind of an issue for another day at this stage. We've got a roundup for you again today. Loads has happened with regards to Celtic. We're going to get through it all and then we're going to find out a little bit about our upcoming European opponents, Bodo Glimt. But that's at the end of the video. Let's just play the intro sting and get into it. Okay, as I'm sure you're well aware, Nicola Sturgeon, the Scottish First Minister, was speaking earlier today and had plenty to say, but none of it mentioned football. Certainly none of it mentioned Celtic. Stadia are still going to be open for, well, at least tomorrow night and the weekend. So we're not going to chat about that today. Go to BBC, STV, etc. news places basically to find out what she had to say today. Our real leader spoke. Ange also had a press conference. He gave us an injury update ahead of tomorrow night's game against Ross County. Let's just hear what Ange had to say and look out for what I think is some of the smartest Celtic gear you're ever likely to see.
Yeah, nothing really changed from last week in terms of guys coming back. No one's coming back from the ones who are out. James, as we saw, had a problem the other night, so we're just still assessing him. He'll be out tomorrow night. We'll get some more information next couple of days on him. Mikey Johnson, we're not sure about either because he pulled up a bit sore after the game. As I said, he wasn't 100%, but we'll just see how he is for tomorrow night. And then I think everyone else pulled through okay, as far as I know.
Santa, if you're watching, I'll take exactly what Ange was wearing there in a large. Thanks very much. In terms of team news, obviously nobody back from the weekend, as Ange says. Kyogo, Jota, etc. James Forrest still out. Mikey Johnson seemingly a doubt as well. This is the team that I'm predicting for tomorrow, and I deserve a gold medal and endless love if I manage to get this right. It's Joe Hart in goals with a back four of Anthony Ralston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carol Starfelt and Greg Taylor. We've gone for James McCarthy at the base of the midfield with Tom Rogic and Callum McGregor in front of him. Josip Juranovic at right wing. Yes, really. David Turnbull, kind of false nine, and Leela Bada, not on the right, but on the left. Christ almighty, we are stretched at the moment. Ange was also asked about Kyogo with regards to Sunday. This is what he had to say.
He's not far off. It just depends. It's a day-to-day thing. If he's ready to go, we'll play him. If he's not, then we'll look to the following game. But I'd expect him to be back over, at some point in the next week or so from the way he's improving at the moment. But again, there's always, with these things, you're kind of relying on everything running smoothly, and they don't always go that way. If he has a setback, that might put him back a little bit further. But him and the medical team are working hard, and we'll see what happens.
So some positive news with regards to Kyogo. Even if he's not back for tomorrow night, or even if he's not back for the cup final, it seems like he won't be far behind that, and certainly much better news than we were fearing after the game against Betis when it seemed like he was in doubt for the derby on the 2nd of January. It's actually been quite a good day in general for Kyogo because his strike at home to Ferencvaros, the one when Jota teed him up with that amazing 60-70 yard pass, and Kyogo finished it quite well. Well, that goal has been nominated by UEFA as one of the best goals of the Europa League group stage. Celtic fans can actually vote for that goal. I will stick that link below in the description. Moving back to current matters and two big games to come up this week. Tomorrow night we go away to Ross County facing a former player who is the manager there, Malky Mackay. He's actually improved their fortunes to the extent where they're not the worst team in the league anymore. Well, certainly that's what the league table says. Sunday could be the same for Celtic with regards to facing a former player, but it's not Neil Lennon. that couldn't possibly happen. The chat is that Shaun Maloney is the guy that Hibs want to appoint, with Gary Caldwell lined up as his assistant. So 2 former Celtic players, and Gary Caldwell obviously a former Hibby as well. That'll add even more spice to Sunday's game if that happens. It's already going to be a huge occasion with Ange and so many players going for their first Celtic trophy, and obviously just with it being a final as well. But if a former Celtic player like Shaun Maloney is the manager of the opposition, it's going to be very tasty indeed. Moving on to Bodo Glimt, and UEFA have confirmed the kickoff times for the 2 legs. The first leg, which is at Celtic Park on February the 17th, will kick off at 8 p.m, with the second leg a week later in Norway. That one has the earlier kickoff time. As I teased earlier, we wanted to find out all about Bodo Glimt as early as possible. So earlier today, I spoke to David Weatherston, who's a former Scottish professional footballer. He played for the likes of Falkirk, Queen of the South, Queen's Park. He finished his career in Norway and still lives out there. He's a lover of Norwegian football, and he seemed like the perfect guy to get on to chat about Bodo Glimt. So I started by asking David for his thoughts on the draw.
It's an interesting one. It's going to be difficult for them, but I think there's a lot of things in their favour. Obviously, from Sunday, Bodo Glimt won the league for the second year in a row on Sunday, and then that's still that they won't play again competitively until Celtic. And also, there's a right good chance that they're going to lose. They've already guaranteed lost one player, the best Fredrik Björkan, left back, very, very talented left back. He's gone. It's likely they could lose 3 or 4 more, and even worse, potentially the manager is. There's some rumours that the manager could be going as well. So it could be a very different Bodo Glimt next season. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of team are still there when Celtic play them.
It kind of happens most winters with them, doesn't it? They lose players. I mean, the Celtic fans will probably know Jens Peter Hauge, who scored a double against us last year for AC Milan. I think he's at Frankfurt now, but he came from Bodo Glimt. There's a fella, I think Zinkernagel, who's playing, in England, came from them. So they kind of lose players, every end of season. But I suppose that if the manager goes, is there much chance of that?
Basically, Rosenborg are very interested in him. Rosenborg, historically, the biggest club in Norway, financially, certainly, a lot bigger than Bodo Glimt. Apparently, he said no to them, but they haven't appointed a new manager yet, and it's very much in the air what's going on. So that's a potential move for him, which I don't think would go down too well with the Glimt fans. But basically, since he took over sort of 3 years ago, they have been on a upward curve pretty quickly. 3 years ago, they lost their best player, who was Håkon Evjen. He went to AZ Alkmaar, and he's kind of making a wee bit of an impression there now. As you say, Hauge, Zinkernagel, both left, and Kasper Juncker. That was the front three last year. They scored 60 league goals between them, which is an incredible amount of goals to replace. It's more goals than they scored in the league this year total. They scored 59 in the end. Wow. So to replace that, it's been difficult. They've done quite well, and they brought in Erik Botheim, who was a kind of cast off from Rosenborg, a young lad, 21 I think he is now. He's had a really good season. I think he's scored about 15, 16 league goals, and made his Norway debut as well. Ola Solbakk's done really well. He's a young winger. He's also from the Trondheim area, another player that Rosenborg have cast away when he was young, and he's done really, really well at Glimt this year. He's done well in big games. He scored important goals. Scored against Roma. Both of those two scored against Roma. Just interesting, those two as well. So Patrick Berg will be the other one who's pretty likely to leave in the winter, and he's a real star. I've been banging the drum trying to get Rangers or Celtic or someone to just be interested in him, because I'd love to see him in Scotland. I think he'd be perfect for both of them. But it looks like I think he's probably get interesting, unfortunately, more financially stable leagues than Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Rosenborg a few times there, and they are the biggest club in Norway in general. And Celtic have played against them. I think we played 6 times in a couple of seasons against them. So that's probably
I've seen them a couple of times at Lerkendal. I went along to the last time they played.
Brilliant.
I think Celtic won. They went 3. No, there was a 0-0, but there was also a 3-1. I think.
There's a 3-1 at Celtic Park.
Was it a 3-1 at Celtic?
I think we won 4 of the games, but they were all really tight. But I mean, Celtic fans, that's probably the only kind of barometer they'll have of Norwegian football. How does this Bodo Glimt side compare to that kind of Rosenborg team?
Yeah, I'd say it's going to be different. I think Rosenborg would have been a bit more defensive against Celtic, but Glimt certainly will not do that. They absolutely refuse to do that, no matter the opposition, even against Roma. Try and take the game to Roma. So very much a possession-based team. I think they've got the highest possession in the league. Average added to that, super quick and on the counter. There was a huge weapon last year in the league, and this year it's not been so much, just with the way the opposition's been playing. But in Europe, it's been a big weapon. And against Roma, I don't know if you've seen highlights of the game, but 6-1 at home to Roma, they absolutely battered them in the counter attack. Yeah, it was lethal, absolutely lethal. And soul backing is a big part of that. His pace, he's rapid.
It looked like Roma just didn't have a clue. Like every goal, in the second half almost seemed the same. It was just a kind of ball through the middle. Sounds like they play quite similar to Celtic as well, in that they like to attack. Doesn't matter who they're playing against; they'll play the same way.
Yeah, and I think that's I've watched a handful of Celtic games this year. It's been to their detriment in Europe, I think. But yeah, I've watched Celtic a few times. I've been quite impressed with what they're trying to do. I think there's a clear understanding of what the new manager wanted when he came in, and it seems to be working on the offensive side. I think with Glimt it's the same. Yeah, it's high possession, it's high press, it's trying to dominate the ball and trying to win it back quickly when they lose it. So it'd be really interesting to see the two teams going against each other. I think it could be a good matchup. It's just whether or not Glimt still have the personnel there to be able to cope with Celtic.
Just finally, expecting goals in the tie then?
Definitely. Goals should be the order of the day, I think. Especially, I mean, if they lose some players, they're going to be vulnerable as well. But I think up there in Bodo in February, it's going to be cold. It's going to be windy, most likely as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I think goals is going to be absolutely order of the day.
A big thanks to David for giving up his time earlier. Check out his website, which is davidweatherstonfootball.com. Again, I will link that in the description below. This description is just getting longer and longer. He chats about loads of things, most notably Norwegian football on there. We're going to leave that there for today's video, and I'll get back to writing. Looking forward to tomorrow night's game away to Ross County. Obviously, another huge match for Celtic. Just get the 3 points and keep moving on. A reminder that if you're looking forward to watching this one on television, then you're going to be disappointed because the match is not being televised by Sky Sports. But Ross County are doing pay-per-view for £15, which seems kind of quite expensive. We'll have the post-match reaction after the game for sure, so we'll chat to you then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we go for 23,000 subs by, whenever, the end of the week, hopefully. If you're watching this and you've not subbed yet, give it a go. It would be massively appreciated. Chat tomorrow.